Hey everybody, we're live tonight with Jason from Legends of Venari, which is like a beast catching game coming to Ethereum slash OpenSea, I guess. How are you doing today, Jason?
Yeah, doing good. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks
Nice
for
to meet
coming
you.
on. Yeah. So I guess first questions, you want to tell us a little bit about like sort of where the idea for Venari started?
Yeah, for sure. Legends of Venari, I guess, like in its simplest form, is a creature collection RPG. I talked about this in my last AMA with Dexter, but I guess like the inspiration for Legends of Venari first came from this like Facebook game I played a really long time ago. It was called Mouse Hunt, and it was so simple. It was just you had these kinds of traps that you could like uh, buy, and you could use cheese. And so you place the cheese on the trap, and after a couple of hours, you come back and you see like a whole bunch of mouse. Um, that was kind of my main inspiration when I first started like crypto back in 2019, and when I first started kind of looking into like crypto kitties. I was thinking like, okay, what else can I do, right? What else can I tokenize? And so this idea of like having some kind of asset that you can collect and having some kind of utility to that, I think that's really how Legends of Venari first started. Of course, like I kind of like add some twist to it. For example, bring in some inspiration from like my childhood. Pokemon's probably like the biggest one, right? Um, but yeah, that's kind of like how we first got started. The gameplay is a bit different. There's a more of a kind of a like mini game, more like active components to it to keep the users engaged. But yeah. Initially, like you'll see a lot of like the inspiration, for example, rigs, bait, stuff like that, having like these creatures pop up. So I would say it's like a mix of like Pokemon Safari, Pokemon Go, and a mix of like Mouse Hunt.
Okay. The Pokemon Go feature sounds cool. I don't know if that'll be like,
Yeah. So I say Pokemon Go because it's mainly like that kind of that screen where you see that creature pop up, um, and it's just like, okay, am I going to catch it or am I not? So it's kind of like really focusing on the collectability aspects of it. Because I remember like back in, I don't even know how long that Pokemon Go came out, but back then it was all about like collecting every single like creature, right? I remember when it first came out, we would used to like go to the park and just like try and see like who can get the most Pokemon. It wasn't really about like um, it really wasn't about like battles or anything else, right? It was mostly focused on collectability, and I guess that's kind of where we first started. That's where we want to kind of grow. We don't want to do too much in terms of our launch. We just want to focus specifically on like the collectability of these Venari and making sure that these Venari feel and look unique. So what I mean by that is like in our alpha season, a lot of these Venari will be like exclusive, right? 1 of 500. Maybe some will only appear during the night. Some might only be like faction exclusives. Um, some you can only find during like exclusive events that we might have. So um, we kind of want to like play into like the NFT factors a bit and just make it feel like it has value to the end user, right? Because at the end of the day, if it's limited and it's like someone's putting their time and effort into trying to catch these, because a lot of these are gonna be quite difficult to catch. You're gonna have to think quite a bit into like what's the best kind of strategy to catch them, where you're gonna be in terms of how you want to catch them. So um, I think that's kind of like where we see value in these Venari.
and on the unique side here, I'll put the website up on the screen. Um, Definitely unique. I love the art style. I don't know, when we first talked, I brought up Risk of Rain. I don't know if anybody in the chats played that game. But for me, the art style was the only reason I played that game, and so I'm very excited to see a game that seems a bit more fun with similar art style. Sort of like, I don't know, like futuristic forest, I guess is.
Yeah. I mean, like internally we say like cyberpunk Pokemon. I mean,
Yeah,
it's like the art style is just something that we've been really trying to hammer home and kind of have like this unified world, as I would like try and think of. So yeah, in terms of like the art style that you bring up, it's really something that we put a lot of time and effort into. So not just like the creatures themselves, but building out the environment, building out like the UI of the game, making sure it's all cohesive. I think that's really important. Like when we first started creating these like Venari, um, it's something that took quite a bit of time in terms of like what we wanted to build. It wasn't like one day we were just thinking, okay, let's create this, right? It was a lot of like iteration, thinking like, okay, what's something that we would love to see that we want to build, and I guess like the prompt that I gave my artist was I kind of really wanted that low poly feel to it. So it's just like when it rotates, you kind of see like the polygons kind of change colors a bit, as well as like I really like the glowing eyes. So those were kind of like the two kinds of major artistic like aspects that I wanted these Venari to have, and then everything else like that was just like up to like artist interpretation. So yeah, we have quite a Venari that we actually didn't release, or when we got to the stage of like, okay, we modeled it out, animated it out, but at the end it was just like, okay, it kind of doesn't fit into the ecosystem, so I kind of just like nicked it. So just like a lot of these Venari, we're just like trying our best to make sure that it fits into this world.
that's cool. And I mean, at least for the ones y'all have up here and the ones I've seen in y'all's Discord, and for anybody who wants to learn more about the project, the Discord is in the description on our YouTube, and then I'm also going to post it in the chat here real quick. And they do AMAs pretty often. I've seen y'all do quite a few, which is awesome. Y'all are super engaged with your community, which is just always good to see from any project. And then Grimace here is giving a shout out for the Mouse Hunt game, saying he play it all the time on Facebook.
Oh man, that's awesome. Like I honestly didn't know anyone else that played that game, and it was a long time ago. But yeah, that's awesome. Like I played Mouse Hunt so much back in the day. Yeah.
And speaking of mobile games, y'all's artists have worked on mobile games in the past, right?
Yeah. So if you guys have heard of Battle Camp, or if you guys heard of the Facebook game Everwing, our artist did the concept art for that too. So she's worked on quite a lot of like big projects, and then now she's like helping us with Legends of Venari. So all of these kinds of like Venari that you see here, they start off as concept arts before we move on to like 3D modeling, animation, and rigging.
And here, I guess I should probably show the gameplay trailer real quick before we get deeper into the project.
For sure.
I hope this volume is good. Yeah. Yeah, I think the music is one of the coolest parts. Bromo Cryptolia says the music is dope too in the chat, and I agree. The music's really like, I don't know.
Oh
like,
yeah.
in Pokemon, you could listen to that music, and you have to for hours on end.
Yeah, I mean, like we'll have the option to switch it off for sure, but yeah, music is definitely something that I struggle to like find a good artist, something that you can like play on loop for like hours on end. Um, I was like looking at like 5 different music artists. I tried to like um, kind of like gave each one like a prompt. It was just like, okay, given like the scene of the world, right? Given Tecta and like its looping background, you kind of like get a glimpse of like, okay, what kind of like music and sounds we can build. So we did a couple of iterations on that, but at the end of the day, like that's kind of what stuck. So we worked with that artist on like finalizing that music, making sure that it worked well with LV. And yeah, hope like the next track is as good. But I think it's just like it's really hard to like um, for music especially, like you kind of have people who like build something and it's just like, okay, it's like a one-hit wonder. But other times it's just like, okay, um, yeah, but overall we just want to like build something cohesive. So even like the music and the world and the Venari, they kind of all fit in with the style.
Yeah, the music definitely fits with the style. People are pretty funny stuff in the chat, and this is funny. FOMO Generation TV. We'll do bring cool projects like this one. Which again, thank you for coming on and giving us the opportunity to talk about this and to get a little more into the project. So there's going to be like play to earn mechanics with the catching and the ability to earn the Venari token, which seems that it's an off-chain game. Will the currency exist off and on chain sort of at the same time? And you have
Yeah, that's a really good question. To be honest, I think like we're still trying to figure that out. I'm pretty sure it will have to be both on and off chain. It's just about how we might want to distribute that on chain or off chain.
yeah,
Initially, what it might be
tax or
is
anything for withdrawing.
yeah. Because how I mean, like for the viewers who don't know, what we wanted to do is for Legends of Venari, we want to create a game that's very like like in terms of the user experience, it's really easy to get into. So all you really need is a pass to actually play the game, and the pass is the NFT. But once you own the pass in your wallet, as soon as you click activate on your account, any kind of gameplay will be handled off chain in our server. So in terms of like catching these Venari, in terms of like trading these Venari within each other, um, that's kind of all handled off chain. We really want to do that instead of like a layer 2 solution because I found that most people, it's really hard for people to get into a L2 solution or kind of get into just like any other kind of ecosystem, especially for if we wanted to target like more mainstream gamers. So for example, if we wanted to do any L2 solution, like users would need to like go to exchange, like exchange the L2 currency, have a wallet, and like the education kind of like factor in terms of like teaching them about these transactions is just really tough. And at the end of the day, we're really trying to build out a game. So that's kind of like our main reason in terms of why we went with a more off-chain approach and try and make the blockchain layer the transaction layer for the most part.
Yeah, I think it'll help, especially being based with being able to play the game without worrying too much about those fees, because that like it would be tough to catch a monster and then have to pay like $100 to actually
Yeah, exactly.
sign the catching transaction.
Yeah. So it's pretty much everything you could think of within the game. It's handled by the server. Um, I do hope like eventually we can move to a L2 solution, maybe like Optimism or Arbitrum. Um, But I think that's like later down the road once like everything's more solidified, as well as like when I think like Vitalik was proposing a couple of things like to help L2s there in terms of like the gas fees. But also it's just like I'm looking at it in terms of like the liquidity and seeing like, okay, where's the party at, right? Like everyone's like right now on ETH, everyone's kind of like on L1. But like, sure, we'll follow the money. If like everyone ends up going to like Optimism or Arbitrum at the end of the day, well, we'll probably go there as well. So
And I think
yeah,
that's true for a lot of projects.
yeah, for sure.
As more and more moves there, yeah, the liquidity will end up there. And I personally, I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet.
Hmm.
And that there's still so much liquidity on ETH when there's so many other options for NFTs. I guess first mover, there's like evidence of first mover advantage.
Yeah, I really see that. I mean, like, sure, there's like Polygon, there's like kind of these other chains out there, and they all have like their like NFTs. But at the end of the day, you know, like you see OpenSea on mainnet, that's probably like where most of the traffic is. You see like CryptoPunks, a lot of these like big ETH communities, they're all on ETH main chain.
Yeah. And selling items for like 6 figures or 7.
Yeah, it's
sometimes.
crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Sorry, there was
Yeah.
talk in the chat about like, so when you're catching a Venari in the game, you'll need a trap and bait, right? Or a rig and bait.
I guess this goes more into gameplay. We can definitely like share more about that. What I can do is like actually do like a demo if it helps. It makes the experience better. So let me do a quick gameplay to like at least like tell you guys more about like what it might actually look like or feel in terms of catching these Venari. So give me like 1 minute as I like launch some things.
Show everybody this. I love these like flying little light cars going back and forth.
Yeah, that's something that that environment actually took the longest time to like build. We went through so many iterations on that too, in terms of getting it, in terms of like, okay, the trees is how we want it, like the buildings, the ships. So let me just really quick log into our staging account. So this hasn't been like leaked anywhere yet. Yeah, so this would be very interesting for a lot of my viewers as well. But let me just share this. Okay. So, are you guys able to see my screen right now?
Now they can.
Yep. Okay, cool. Yeah. So, this is kind of like our website. This isn't like the video, right? So this is like our actual website in terms of what you guys would be able to see. It's very unpolished right now. So that's kind of why like I would say give it like 2 or 3 weeks until like we actually launch. But over here, the idea is you kind of have a location. For example, right now we're in Tictarian Groves. And what you want to do is you kind of want to set a bait. So over here, you have like a couple of different options. Right now, it's kind of really slow, but we'll optimize it for sure. So we'll pick Oriya bait. The Oriya bait is like the most common bait, and it's like a 15-minute cooldown. So more of like like, you know, kind of like these baits down there. I won't give too much. But those baits will be more like a 24-hour cooldown. So let's just like set the Oriya bait down. It's going to have a cooldown, and these creatures will start to appear. Probably won't appear during this demo, or at least we'll wait a bit. But what we can do is we can see that we have a currently active bait, but we also have baits that are already done. So for example, we'll go to, Tecta, city of Tecta, that's already been, we've already set a bait there. So we'll travel there. And then you'll see like, okay, shit, we have a ton of Venari that appeared. What you can do is like you can tap on one and then it'll go into like our expedition page. Right now that demo isn't like fully fleshed out yet, so we can't really like tap on anything right now. But I'll show you that stage in a bit. So what happens is when you tap on a Venari, you can only select one out of the 6, right? Once you select one, the rest of them will disappear. That's just how we want to balance it out. So if you want to like wait until like more show up, you can, or like if one pops up already, you could just select that one as well. So at most there'll be like 6 Venari that pops up. So that's like if you get really lucky, right? Some of the times only 2 of the 6 pops up by the cooldown when the cooldown's done.
But might continue to show up if you wait past the cooldown.
So once the cooldown's done, like no Venari will show up anymore. So the max is 6. Maybe like 2 out of the 6 will pop up. Who knows? Yeah, so I think that was a bit of a leak. I don't think we even like showed that Venari. But yeah, let me see. Did any Venari pop up over here? Nope, not yet. We'll wait for this a bit. But in the meantime, what we can do is show the flow for actually like once you like get into the game. So give me 1 second. So
Mountain Doomy saying so, kind of like a lure in Pokemon Go.
Yeah, kind of like that for sure. I think that's kind of how I would describe it. Except like you can only select one Venari. The rest kind of like disappear. Yeah, so let me share my screen again.
Is there going to be like a Venari Dex?
I would like that, but I think we need some time to build that out. But yeah, it might have to be like a user created one for now. So right now, this is kind of like the screen you see before the Venari pops up. So when you get to like, when you select the Venari from that kind of screen I showed earlier, you can bring a rig and you can bring baits. So let's like move the camera in. This would be automatic, right? Sorry, it's a bit laggy on your end, but it's like fine on mine. I think it has to do with the FPS, but the FPS is fine on my end.
It's probably this StreamYard. We've had issues with some other games as well, where like
yeah,
the frame
but yeah, like if you're playing the game, like the FPS is really smooth. But I guess like the idea is like, okay, so this is kind of like why I was thinking like Pokemon Go. You kind of see this Venari here, and you have to like do something in order to like catch it, right? So in our case, we have this kind of like mini game. And how it works is the idea is you have 3 actions. You have the play, you have the fight, and you have the feed mechanic. So you have 3 actions and 3 buttons. And how it works is this Venari internally, it kind of like has, kind of like personality to it. Maybe this Venari really likes to play, or maybe it really likes to fight. You don't really know until like you kind of experiment with it, right? The catch rate might go up or down, and so it's really about like this kind of knowledge until like, okay, I'll try this rig and this action and hope it works, right? But as
the
you
rig
like,
is used when you're actually catching it, and to get them there, you use the bait.
yeah. So the bait is really used to like attract the Venari. Rig is kind of like to give you better odds in terms of catching it. So the rig is kind of like a permanent addition. It's like depending on your progression, you might get a better and better rig over time. So there's like play rigs, fight rigs, and more of like a generalist rig. And so it really depends on like what kind of Venari you're trying to catch. So depending on that, you'll bring like different kinds of rigs. So for example, like you miss, right? Like you've done like all you can, and then you try and catch it, but you miss. So we'll have like cool animations around like the Venari. Sorry, this is like so much smoother like on my end. But yeah, it's really about like we have quite a bit of like Venari. The Venari that you saw earlier was kind of like a leak. We didn't really like show that, but it was like the Vespo. So this is kind of like
Oh, that was really cool. The colors on all of them are really cool.
yeah, we spent a lot of time focusing on like actually bringing this onto web, right? This isn't a video, right? This is like actually like part of our website. And we do some really crazy things with this, right? We could like have a showroom for this too. Right now, this is really just our kind of like the catching scene. But yeah, for all of these Venari, we have different like animations. For example, idle animation, a miss animation, and this animation it flows together, right? When they go from idle to miss or idle to catching. Sorry, some people saying it's lagging. I don't know. Yeah, I think it's mainly like the FPS is really like buggy on my end. It's in terms of like showing the screen. But yeah, it's just like yeah, it's all good. But yeah, all these animations kind of really flow smoothly. Yeah, I think like yeah. So essentially, as you like play this game, you'll get like better and better Venari over time, more exclusives. Like different colors, different variations. For example, we might have like the first Venari that you saw here. But maybe like as you go on, you might like find like a more exclusive version of that, right? So that's kind of what I mean by like it's gonna take a long time and a lot of hours of grinding, and that's kind of like where we want to provide that kind of value, right? This is a game at the end of the day. This isn't really about like earning a lot of these like tokens. It's really about like spending your time and catching these like cool Venari that will go away after a period of time, right? And we'll build like other cool like utility to them afterwards. So that's kind of like one of the things I wanted to show on the stream. It's the kind of like expedition, right? Once you like see these creatures pop up, you get to this like expedition screen where you can like catch these creatures. Yeah. So okay, yeah.
Josh from Stratton Studios is a good question. Do the Venaris have like intrinsic values similar to Pokemon?
Yeah, they do actually. And the question is also, Venari have IVs? Yes. Yeah. So some Venari, they're the same, will have better IVs than other Venari. So yeah, as you see, like it's been like what 9 minutes, so 6 minutes remaining, and you can see like a couple of Venari actually popped up. So we have like the Torio. This one we kind of don't have the actual like image for it, which is why it's loading. But yeah, so this just kind of like the demo of like what happens when you place a bait down. We also have what's like our inventory. It's still not like fully functioning. A lot of these are like when you hover over it, it'll like adjust. So we're still finalizing the details on a lot of what we're building, which is why it's taking a bit of time. Yeah. We're getting close. We're getting close to like finishing it. They just like need a couple like days to like polish everything up, I would say, connect everything up. And then the other thing is like you can travel, right? So the idea is like when you're traveling, there's like a couple of different areas you can go to. In only one location you can place one bait down, but you kind of like want to explore different locations because that's where like different Venari are. So for example, you might want to go to the Tectus Thumbs, and everything's like hooked up to our backend. For example, like we do have gold, right? So when we visit there, the gold gets deducted. So pretty much like everything is built out, right? We have like our second region, Unit Ridges too. A lot of this is like fully functioning. It's just like we want to make sure it's like very polished before we like get it to the hands of our users. Yeah, so that's kind of like where we are in terms of like locations, in terms of like catching. In terms of the actual mini game, I'll talk a bit more about that. Let me just stop sharing my screen. So I mentioned it briefly, but it was like the idea of like 3 actions. But what we wanted to do is we kind of want each creature internally to have a kind of like combo. For example, like a first action, a second action, and a third action. So if you always land the combo, you'll have like a really high chance of like catching that creature. It might be like feed, feed, play, feed, play, feed. Just some kind of variation around that, or maybe like play, fight, play, something like that, right? This isn't like something that will like explicitly tell you. It's something that you have to find out yourself. But if you do, you get like a bigger like capture rate bonus, right? So it's a lot of the times it's about experimenting. It's about figuring out like how to play the game, and then you'll get like better odds that way. So this is kind of like how we envision we will like deter the bots, right? For example, if the bots are playing, they're going to have a tough time because they don't have the knowledge, right? You might like play this game, see this creature, you really want to catch it, so you like do a couple of experiments, right? You first do like a play rig, then you do like a fight rig. Eventually you get to that point where you kind of know like what's the best odds, what's like the best kind of like combos to do to catch that kind of creature. So for a bot, they kind of don't have the kind of intelligence necessary to like figure that out. And it's really about this
an AI bot, in which case they should probably be doing something better with that.
Yeah, that's kind of like what I think, right? It's just like it's not worth its time to make like a clicker for a game because you only have certain limited number of actions in our game. And so a human will probably like have a much better chance of like doing much better versus a bot. So and the other thing is like as I was touching earlier about the idea about it being a race, right? It's kind of like we have our alpha season that's between early December to around February, and people are always going to start at level 1 when they play the game, right? You're going to create your account. It's going to be at level 1. You're going to activate your account with a pass, and you'll need to like grind up. And it's simple as that. You can't really like buy your way to like the highest level. You're always going to have to like grind no matter what. So we don't have any kind of like pay to win elements to it. So that's kind of like why I say it's a race, right? It's really about like, okay, if a bot's playing the game, it's probably going to have a much lower odds of like getting to that stage versus like an actual person. Because like at the end of the day, once you reach late game, the season's almost over, right? You only have like so many like weeks left to like catch Venari before the next season starts, and then a lot of these like Venari will be like wiped from the pool, and new Venari will be added in. I think that's pretty much it in terms of our gameplay.
I can bring up the roadmap to ask maybe a few more questions. So you already had the public sale, so
I could touch more about the public sale actually. So what happened was we were trying to sell 3,750 alpha passes. That's like the pass to get into the game. And how originally how we wanted to distribute the passes was randomly within the 3,750 alpha passes, we would distribute 300 gilded passes. I mean, that kind of didn't go as planned, right? We sold out about 450 alpha passes. So we kind of went back to the drawing board. We wanted to reward our early supporters and kind of have additional bonuses for them that way. So those 450 people who bought in early, they kind of like, we just turned them into gilded passes essentially. So there's about 450 gilded passes plus like 150 additional gilded passes for giveaways and our reserve. So that kind of leaves 3,150 alpha passes that we do want to try and sell.
Talking about, just by the way.
Yeah, so those are
in the YouTube description, just in case. I know people like to scam anything they can. So
yeah. So yeah, those are our gilded passes currently. There's only about 450 plus the 150 that we have in reserve, and we will have our second sale coming up as we release the game. So hopefully around early December, that's when we will release our second batch of these alpha passes. So the remaining 3,100 will be for sale then.
Okay, when the alpha starts, or like
yeah. So yeah, hopefully we'll give it a week, right? We'll give a week for the sale, and then like you'll basically like can play the game. It's pretty soon. We're almost done. We're just like finalizing a lot of these tests, making sure everything's working properly, essentially.
Sweet. Let me go back to here. So what can you sort of, I don't know, tease about the airdrops that gilded passes?
Yeah.
Different from the alpha passes, like whether it's good to hit the market or wait for a week before the alpha comes out.
Yeah, so I would say like we'll probably do like a snapshot next week for the gilded passes. It's not like these airdrops will have a lot of or any kind of utility in the game. That's not what we want and not what we're looking for. What we want to do for these airdrops is kind of make it very special and commemorative. It's like for our supporters, right? This is what I talked about in like an earlier meeting with our what we call Venari members. So essentially, like this NFT airdrop will be kind of like our earliest concept art that will release to these Venari members. So they'll be able to see these concept art. They'll be able to like have like a handwritten signature, and that would be kind of like its own art piece. So that's kind of like what we were thinking about in terms of that airdrop. It's just something
cool. Sort of keeping it in the eyes of like a collectible as well.
Yeah, essentially, because the way we didn't want to do it is the idea like, okay, airdrop something that like will significantly impact the game. That kind of like sounds like a snowbally effect, right? It's just like something that we didn't want to do. We also didn't want to airdrop any Venari, because the idea is we really want to focus on these Venari as something that users themselves collect, right? When you see a Venari, you kind of think like, okay, someone out there has put their time and effort to try and like catch this thing. So that's kind of like why we didn't want to airdrop Venari themselves. So that's kind of why we went with this like commemorative piece.
Makes sense. Sorry, I think my computer's lagging a little bit. I can see myself blink after I blink.
All good.
Threw me off. I'm not going to pronounce this right, but DD is asking if there will be integrations in the sandbox, essentially.
Yeah. I mean, that's something we always want to do, right? We want to like expand into the metaverse. I think it's something that we think about long term. It's just like, okay, everyone's talking about this metaverse thing. The way I kind of see it is like every kind of metaverse is its own like self-contained like project, right? And then you kind of add like these collaborations on top of it. So I find it really difficult to define metaverse, because it's really like at the end of the day, some kind of company like overseeing this kind of like world, this kind of ecosystem. Like even like in Legends of Venari, right? We'll probably like do a lot of collaborations. One of the first collaborations we will be doing is with biopills. So how we might implement that, we'll have an article written up later this week about it. But it's the idea of having these like other NFT collectibles within our game in with an exclusive event essentially. So how we will design it is we'll try to make it as fair as possible for the people who own biopills and people who actually just want to play our game and still want to collect these like biopill exclusive Venari, or kind of like any other like NFT exclusive Venari that we might collaborate with in the future. So the general concept is we'll give like a 2-week window. We'll collaborate with whatever NFT company it is, and we'll like work with them to design this like special looking Venari for them. And we'll plan out this like window of time, 2 weeks. And so anyone who holds that kind of NFT will be getting kind of like airdropped baits. Like maybe every day you get like 1 bait or like 2 baits. I don't know. But the idea is it's not going to be some kind of like game breaking thing that we want to do. We kind of really want to focus on making it fairly balanced for our users too. So even if we airdrop it to other people that own these NFTs, in terms of bait, right? We're not airdropping Venari. They'll still be able to access these like biopill baits within our shop. Like they can purchase that with their own kind of currency.
Like anybody can, or only?
Yeah, so anyone can. So kind of like how we're doing with biopills, there's going to be like kind of 3 tiers. Like there's like 15 levels in biopills, right? But we want to split up into 3 tiers. So levels 1 to 5, you kind of get like the shittiest bait. So level 6 to 10, you get like a more premium bait, and then 11 to 15, you get like the more premium, like the highest kind of bait, right? So how we want to do it in our system is we'll also allow people to buy it in game with like coins or with our premium tokens. So that's kind of like how we want to like bridge the gap between this like collaboration, because it's really hard to like like when you think of a metaverse, right? You kind of like have one sword in one game and move that sword in the next game. It's really hard to like have that kind of balance, right? As a game, you kind of have your own ecosystem of like what you want to build and what you want to balance. And so like if you have another community come in and kind of have their own kind of like ecosystem and their own kind of items, you don't want to like bridge everything in, because it really ruins like that kind of balance you already have within your own game. So that's kind of like how we want to compromise with like most companies that we do work with in terms of like a metaverse, at least like for our initial stage.
Makes sense.
Yep.
So to keep going down the roadmap, so this is the part that really got me. There's going to be plushies.
Yeah. I mean, like at the end of the day, like I kind of see Legends of Venari as kind of we're really trying to build it out as a brand. And so we do hope to expand to like merch, plushies, stuff like that in the future. One of our community members actually already created a plushie, and that was like super cool.
That's awesome.
But yeah, and like yeah, we definitely want to move into like some other people were talking about like 3D printing these as figurines. Like we already have all of these like 3D files, right? So it shouldn't take too much work but we definitely want to like prioritize where we want to go like first, kind of like that's like the third step, right? So it's kind of like once we might have like settled down, like finalized our core game flow, and then like we can like move into merch and anything else.
That's awesome. Yeah, G Thwo sitting there in for merch.
G flow.
I feel like I'm so bad at it. I feel like I butcher everybody's names. I try.
Yeah, it's all good. Yeah, well, we hope to have like Venari merch. I think it'd be cool,
Yeah, like shirts with your little Venaris. I think the plushies and the like little physical ones will be super cool.
Yeah. A lot of these like designs, like they could definitely like work.
Yeah, I think the metaverse expansion is going to be really cool too. To sort of be able to, I don't know. It says here, catch Venari from any platform in metaverse. That would be really cool.
Yeah, so I kind of imagine like in terms of catching it from another platform, we would have to like build our own like SDK to allow other companies to support us. It's definitely something that we want to do, right? We don't want to be the only kinds of people to be building on this like Venari ecosystem. So this also goes back into like how Venari gets distributed, right? And so like maybe in the future it might not just be us as a company like distributing out these Venari, having our own kind of like it'll probably be more like blockchainy, maybe other people have their own ways of distributing Venari, but we want to make sure that it doesn't get abused, right? Like if one person or one company decides like, okay, maybe I'll just like print 100 of these Venari, to their community. So it's just like we want to make sure that at the end of the day, it's just like this ecosystem is like really hinged on us as a company first to make sure it's like fair and balanced. But as we expand, sure, we can like look into like having other people like catch Venari as well.
This is the Algoritmo or Algoritmo. Sorry,
Yeah.
Put the
That's the plushie.
Yeah, that's really cool. Grimace in the chat is asking why y'all chose to go with ETH, which I guess we were kind of answering earlier. It's more a matter of liquidity.
Yeah. So for me, like, I'm honestly like a ETH maxi. That's probably like why I chose it. I've been working on the ETH ecosystem since 2019. I'm a smart contract developer for ETH. I built so many different like projects and protocols on the ETH network, so that's kind of like a no-brainer for me to choose ETH. I built like stuff for Polygon before Wax. I haven't really, but for me, I think the reason I choose ETH is mainly because it's just like, yeah, and that's where the party is. That's like where everyone usually like does most of their transactions. So that's kind of like in terms of LOV, especially like we want to do it mainstream, but do it in a way so that it feels good to like anyone that's coming in, whether they're like new to blockchain, whether they're like very experienced. Like ETH is kind of like a happy medium in my opinion. So that's kind of like my thoughts on it.
Yeah, it is for sure. Trying to come up with more questions. Anybody in chat have any more questions for Jason? Most of my questions are like trying to figure out what the secret I don't know, I'm trying to think of it, like fight, play.
Yeah. I mean, like that combination, you kind of like really have to you really have to just like play the game and figure that out, right? It's just like, okay, maybe I do like fight, and then okay, it's just like it does nothing, or like you kind of lose the bit of like your capture percentage. So that's really about like trying to figure out like what Venari you're targeting. Maybe you love to like And maybe you love to catch like the Neri, for example. You just want to hoard all the Neri, so you want to like make sure you have like the best odds in terms of like catching that.
Yeah. Grimace is saying his only concern is gas fees, but luckily, since it'll be like sort of a contained system, the gas fees will only be if you're trying to take something out of the system or put like a new item in.
So I definitely agree. Like gas is like insane on ETH, right? So we're definitely thinking about that too. All right, we want to make sure that users are using as little gas as possible. So what I mean by that is, as I said earlier, like any kinds of like catching of these Venari, they're going to be off chain. A lot of this is pretty much like all off chain, right? For the most part. What happens on chain is if you want to specifically sell a Venari to another person for ETH, right? We do have some like kind of fancy mechanics in play that we want to introduce in our own secondary marketplace to allow people to trade this off-chain Venari for ETH. And so the benefits of that is that you're not paying any kind of ETH in terms of like listing it. To cancel it, you won't need any kind of like ETH transaction, and you only will need to so only like the buyer pays like the transaction fee, right? If you own the Venari, you kind of like just list it up, you cancel it, or you kind of like adjust the price up and down. That doesn't cost any ETH. So that's like the benefits in terms of like an off-chain Venari. The other thing is like if you just want to like trade this Venari for our own premium token, that doesn't cost any gas at all, right? It's
So
just
it'll be
like
like an internal marketplace, sort of, right?
yeah. Essentially, like we want to make sure it's as like as most as
Like
the
as
most
gas.
liquidity as possible, as like least amount of like gas as possible as well. So those are kind of like why we're thinking of like gas in that way. But like for any kinds of like I don't know, like catching Venari, like playing the actual game, traveling to anywhere, that doesn't cost any gas, right? So for like a regular user, someone who isn't like familiar at all with blockchain, they're able to like play the game, right? They can go from start to finish without even like interacting with the Venari. Um, yeah, so that's kind of like where we think we want to go in the future. We'll probably have the secondary marketplace up 2-3 weeks a bit after our launch, mainly to give us some time to like finalize and balance out the game, but also to just to build it out, right? We want to launch a game first. We want to launch something like finalized and polished, and then we can focus on anything else. Marketplace, lending, sure, but that happens afterwards.
Okay. Least Comic Standing is asking if you'll need a pass, and so yeah, for the alpha you'll need an alpha pass. Is it going to be like a free to play game after the alpha, or you still need like a pass to enter?
Yeah, so the idea is like it's a pass to enter the game. Any kind of interactions is free to play, but the idea is like, okay, you you could buy the pass, or you could like have someone like lend it to you. It'll be a lot cheaper if like someone lends it to you, but you're kind of like sacrificing your gains too, right? Like if you do sell it to someone else, sell a Venari that you caught to someone else, like the person that lent out the pass will take like a percentage cut. So that's
Oh,
kind
so
of
I
like
can
how
just
we
rent out
balance.
my pass and let people play for me.
Yeah, so that's kind of like how our guild system works. So a lot of our people who are playing this game or who are interested are like guild members, right? They're buying like a large amount of passes and they're distributing to the people who can't really like play and just want to like have a lot of time, right? So for them, the idea is like they're going to be catching a lot of these Venari, but they're going to be a lot of these like Venari that they do catch. They're kind of like they have like a percent attached to it, right? You can only sell it for so much. So I don't know, someone like lends a pass out for 50%, whatever you sell it on our marketplace, they get 50%. So that's kind of like how we want to balance it out there.
Okay, that's pretty cool. Also, Morgotchi said they showed up late. We're talking about Legends of Venari, which is how do you describe it? Is it animal catching or monster?
Yeah. So I would describe it as like a creature collection RPG. We're really focused on creating a really balanced kind of like gameplay. There's really no pay to win mechanics. I kind of think of it as like going more into like the design of Bitcoin in a sense. You can't like buy your way into like, a ton of Bitcoin, right? You kind of like most of the time it's like earning it, right? So in the sense like you can't like buy your way and then earn a ton of more Bitcoin that way. With LV, you really just like buy alpha passes, and from there you kind of like play and earn these Venari that way.
And then I put the Discord again and the website in the chat. Let me see if there were any other questions. Oh, Bromo was asking what my favorite is. My favorite Venari. I really like that bumblebee that you teased. I think like the
That's the Neri.
maple, yeah, Neri. That's probably my favorite. It reminds me a lot of Celebi in Pokemon.
Yeah. A
Yeah,
lot of the
I
animations
just
that we
like
have
it.
are like inspired by Celebi, actually, for the Neri especially. Yeah. I think it's like, yeah, it's probably like our mascot at that point. So many people like the Neri. We're gonna like have to adjust the values, make it harder to catch.
That's the one I would choose as my plushie. I also really like. I don't know if it's like a seahorse, but
Yeah.
also pretty cool. I think they're all really cool. But if I had to pick favorites,
Mhm.
like I like these ridges on the wolf. I don't know. There's just a lot of detail in these that's really cool.
Yeah, for sure. I think what we can do to like do another tease. I think I could share a video to you, so hopefully like the quality is better there.
Yeah, this should hopefully help that a little bit. I don't know
Yeah.
why my computer has issues so often.
Yeah. So if you could like play that, I think that'd be like a cool sneak peek for people.
Just based on that first part, I'm guessing you watched the Pokemon movie with Celebi in it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
That's all we have so far.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah. So we're working on a cinematic trailer. It's getting there, but yeah, we'll add like the sound effects, make it like more cinematic. But yeah, that's like this first sneak peek that I've shown a lot of these people.
El Deuterino says you're feeling it tonight for
Yeah.
sharing all of it. Yeah, I agree with
Oh
you.
yeah.
The look of the monsters and the design on them is really cool, and the animations for them is very like fluid.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, our animator is like insane. He pumps out animations like crazy. He's really good.
Is it time to move on to a few giveaways?
Yeah. I think like wrap things up. We could do a couple of giveaways. What we can do, I don't know how you usually do giveaways, but I think we'll give away like 1 alpha pass and then 2 NFT airdrops.
Okay, we usually use Grubfish. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but basically they can type exclamation point play and then their ETH wallet address. And to
Okay.
anybody here from the Wax community, because this usually happens, be sure not to post your Wax address. If you do, I'll reach out to you later. And if you do, you can post again, exclamation point play, and then your ETH address, and it'll replace it. But yeah, it makes it a lot easier to collect addresses and do the giveaway at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we really just need the ETH address to like distribute rewards. Cool.
And if anyone doesn't have an ETH address, feel free to just do !play, and I can DM you a few tutorials after and help walk you through setting that up.
Cool.
I'm wondering how we should do like distribution, because it's you do one round where it's like the Grubfish Royale, and they're all in like a little space bouncing
Yeah.
around and getting chopped up, and then there's the dance off afterward.
Okay.
I guess we could do, if you're okay with it, the Alpha Pass for the Royale, and then we
Sure.
could do both of the airdrops for the top two in the dance off.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. I'll do Dorino. I will not try to win this time.
I'll do Dorino is disqualified.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna put myself in as well. Probably my favorite part about it. I can enter as the streamer and still play without any risk of winning, because I can just blow myself up.
Hey.
All right, let's see if we get a few more, because I know the max for the dance off at the end is 24. Maybe we can get 2 more people to enter. So how did you get into NFTs at the beginning?
Yeah.
Go to the
Really good
programming
question.
side with like
Yeah.
developing
So
or?
yeah, I'm a developer. I've been doing like iOS development for like 4 or 5 years before I jumped into smart contract development. So yeah, it really started off with CryptoKitties, right? I just saw their contract, and I kind of wanted to like build my own blockchain game. Then it was back in 2019, and I built what I would say is like a blockchain MMORPG. We did okay. Like we raised like back then it was 30K. That's like 100 something ETH back then. Now it's a lot more. But yeah, what happened was like after that, my journey was just like, okay, you kind of see like the potential of like tokenization. I kind of got started in terms of building out protocols. I went to a lot of these ETH hackathons. I went to ETH Denver, ETH Waterloo. I talked to like a lot of people that are like really big in the space now, but back then they kind of like were really like nobodies, right? Like back then I had a couple of beers with like the founder of Sandbox, Sebastian, founder of, or not founder, but like what was it? I think it was like the marketing person back then.
Still really cool.
Yeah.
Anybody on like the founding team there?
Yeah, everyone wasn't like, everyone back then really like didn't know like NFTs were going to blow up back then, right? Yeah, but it was like a really good experience. I met so many like cool people from like blockchain. Sorry, I'm just trying to remember his name.
It's okay.
Like the marketing person from Axis. I forgot.
Infinity.
Yeah, from Axis. Yeah, but yeah, just a lot of really interesting people from there. Yeah, but afterwards, it's like I got more into like the technical side of things. I did a lot of these like protocol work. I worked with Consensus. I worked with Mozilla on a bunch of like cool things. Yeah, I made so many different companies before LLV came up, and that's kind of like how I got started in like the startup space. That's kind of how I got started in just building out projects in general.
That's awesome. I think we got enough to boot this up, so we can keep talking while
Let's do it.
While they play. I need to be sure to grub explode. Resize.
How does it work?
Oh
no,
it's not blowing me up. Oh, I died anyway. Okay.
I'm excited to see.
I got rid of the music too. There we go. That's a lot more fun. That's cool to see to hear that you've done so much in the past.
Yeah, it's I mean, like that's really inspired me to like kind of create LLV, right? That's really about what I can do with blockchain technology as a whole, and seeing like how we can like expand it to other audiences. Oh my god, I know a lot of these people. No, Brum, don't win.
Is Bromo on the team?
No, but he's won so much.
There we go. Oh wait, no, he's still in the suit.
Oh my god, that's so close.
Oh, no. It's the creator curse. Yeah, pretty much anytime we call people out, they die. All right, I'm gonna just note these down, and then we'll do the dance off. So congrats to some guy for winning the alpha pass, and then put you all into a dance off for 2 airdrops. And will these be like the same airdrops the Gilded Pass holders are getting, like the concept art?
Yeah, exactly. So it's just you know, some concept art might be like a 1 of 500, some might be like a 1 of 1. We might do like a group signature, just something like special, right?
That's awesome.
So you could kind of imagine it as just like its own kind of own mint, right?
Yeah. Okay, good. I died. I'm a little worried.
Oh no.
Bro, I'm still in. Never mind.
Oh no. As soon as you said it.
Why is everyone anti-promo? Apparently you win a lot. That's why. All right, so congrats to Redolinu and Rababubub17. And yeah, sweet. So luckily all 3 winners have the ETH addresses, so we got those. You brought up a 101, and that reminded me of, and this can maybe be my last question.
Yeah, the 1 of 1.
Maybe the 101.
Yeah, I mean, the 1 of 1's definitely special. I can't tease too much about it because like I already teased way too much already. Essentially, the 1 of 1 will be at the end of the cinematic. It'll be really, yeah, it's gonna be huge. I can't say more than that, but how you obtain the 1 of 1, I can talk a bit more about. So it's the idea of like demand generation, right? This probably won't. We probably won't be able to release it on alpha. It'll probably be more into season 1. But the idea is we kind of want to make tier 3 creatures, like, you know, the one that I leaked about, like the Neri with like the ice armor. Like those are going to take like hundreds of hours to catch, right? It's gonna be really difficult to catch these like tier 3 creatures. So we kind of want to have demand generation for these like tier 3 creatures beyond just collectability. So it's like the idea is like if you collect every single tier 3 creature we have for that season, you have that quest line to collect that 1/1. So that's kind of like our thought process into like, okay, how do we make these creatures more special?
How would that, is it like the first, would that then be the first person to sort of complete that, like,
Yeah.
round of monsters would get it? Or like,
Well, you won't get the 1/1. You will get like the opportunity to like go to the place or like have the opportunity to catch that 1/1.
okay. So as
Yeah,
people
but
complete it, so there's still like a motivation to complete it first because you get the first chance at catching it.
yeah. At least that's how we see it in terms of like the big reward for each season. Of course, we'll have like similar kinds of um, you know, smaller kinds of demand generation, like maybe collecting a certain amount, you'll get like a cool badge or some other kinds of like prizes and stuff like that. So we're thinking of things we can do in terms of providing certain Venari with utility without actually like creating our own like battle system upfront. Yep.
Will they be able to power up and sort of grow and evolve, or is it so you have to catch the next one and
Yeah,
like
so
evolve and catch better monsters?
yeah, I mean, like that's something we've been thinking about for a while now. We probably won't have the ability to evolve, but we will have the ability to level up these Venari, and they might like shift a bit. You know, like maybe like the environment will change, particles will adjust. You know, like the stats will get better as you like level them up, stuff like that. Reason why we didn't want to go with like evolution system is because I don't know. I feel like a lot of people are doing the evolution system, and I feel like it kind of like gets old real fast. And yeah, you know, like I really like all of these like Venari, right? We spent so much time like designing each and every one of them.
You don't see them all
And
getting burned to evolve.
no, yeah, it's just like you just see like one stage, and you kind of need like 3 stages. So it's just like there's different ways of like having this kind of progression without like building an evolution system, in my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool, like to catch the monster above. I don't know, like
Yeah.
Pokemon without evolving. I feel like would be a pretty interesting game, honestly.
Yeah, it's like Pokemon without evolving, and then each Pokemon is like a EV. You know, each Venari has like 6 different elements associated with it. So, yeah,
Oh, so you could get the same Venari in any of the elements, or each Venari has a specific element for it?
no, there's 6 elements for each Venari. Yeah,
Oh, that's cool. I'm excited to see like the different ones for
yeah, but there's different
Neri.
rarities to different ones. Yeah,
The Neri that you showed, like I'm guessing that was like the stage 2. That was such a cool. I think that's hands down my favorite actually. And
yeah,
probably with the UTs. I don't think I've seen that before, but
yeah. That one's special for sure.
the like diamonds growing on it and the ears
Yeah,
changed to be like solid diamonds instead of the leaves.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, those are kind of like the ones that are really really difficult to catch.
Well, I'm gonna be trying.
For sure. Cool.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah,
sorry.
I don't have anything else for this stream, but yeah.
Anybody else in the chat have any questions before we take off here? I think they're questioned out. Awesome.
Cool.
Well, thank
Yeah,
you
no
for the
worries.
questions, and thank you for tuning for showing up today, and thank you to everyone who tuned in. The support is always amazing, and we appreciate the views.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, thank you so much for taking the time to have this AMA with me. Really appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Awesome. Thanks,
Yeah.
everybody. Have a good one.
Bye.